Welcome to our show today. My guests today are former FBI Special Agent Dennis Arnoldy, former Deputy Sheriff of New York State turned author Dennis Griffin, and former mobster turned government witness Frank Cullotta. Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome.
Thank you for being on the show. Let's just start right out by talking. Frank, you grew up in Chicago. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, what your childhood was like?
I grew up in a rough neighborhood, and as a kid, my parents didn't have too much money, and I shined shoes and stuff like that, robbed, and grew up around a lot of thieves. My father was a criminal, and sort of looked up to him.
Was your father connected in any way to organized crime? Or?
My father never wanted to be connected to organized crime. He was more or less a loner. He had a crew of guys working with him, and he did his own, work with his crew. He didn't like, at that time there was the Black Hand, and he sort of put them out of business.
The Black Hand was from the old country, Italy. Is that the basic idea there?
Yeah, there were a bunch of old Sicilians from Sicily.
Right.
They came here and they used to muscle their own cane. So they tried to muscle him, and that was a no-no.
So he took care of him.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, when you were a young boy, he was killed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about what happened?
Well, from what I understand and what I was told, he was on his way home. We were supposed to go somewhere, the family, and he didn't get there at, I think it was 8 o'clock at night. And from what I heard from family members, some police started chasing him. They tried to pull him over, and he had a load of hot stuff in the car. So he lammed him, and he had an accident and got killed.
Were you aware at that point in your life of what your father was doing or what he did for a living, or was that pretty much kept from you or kept secret?
No, I wasn't aware of anything he'd done. I just knew he was very hot-headed. He was a very good provider, and they didn't talk about him stealing or doing this or doing that. It's only after he died that I heard his friends talk and relatives.
I see. Would you say he was a violent man?
Yes.
So he was capable of
well, I seen one time he beat the shit out of a couple guys. They spit out of the window and landed on his car. And we were coming back from the cemetery, and he pulled him over, curbed him, jumped out of the car, yanked him out of the car, and beat the shit out of both of them.
Wow. So he was a tough guy.
Yeah.
A tough guy. What was your mother like?
She was a housewife, a good woman, very good.
Did your father always have decent, home or furnishings or that type of thing?
We always had
you?
new furniture. I remember as a kid, there was always new furniture in the house. Every year, he'd have new furniture. He was real particular about his furniture. And I come to find out later that he used to rob all the furniture and bring it in so it didn't cost him any.
Right.
We had the first TV there was,
Wow. So the price was right, and he brought it home.
It was free.
Yeah, exactly. At what age do you think you actually started to realize maybe what was expected of you, or were you to inherit your father's lifestyle, so to speak?
Well, I never really thought about inheriting his lifestyle. I just hung around with a lot of guys that were the criminal type, and being from a family and where there was a lot of criminals that used to come by the house, I didn't know anything else, anything better, but to live my life that way. So I grew up into that type of world.
Did you have trouble in school as a young boy?
Oh, I always had trouble in school. It was very hard for me to learn, and I was lazy. I didn't want to learn. And I used to get in trouble all the time at school because I used to beat up the kids and take their lunch money. And if they had milk, I'd take their milk, so on. And then my mother tried everything.
Vitamin D there, yeah.
Yeah. Well, my mother tried to send me to Catholic school, and the nuns started hitting me with rulers, and then I started retaliating against them.
Wow.